Hi, I am Laura. Hi, Laura. I'm going to show you how to do this little dimensional heart right here using watercolor pencils. These are the watercolor pencils I've got. Oh, you can't even see them. There they are. Okay. I'm using Crayola brand watercolor pencils. And I will be using Maped's Color Pep Smoothies. These are watercolor crayons. And they're very slick, smooth crayons. And we're going to be doing this heart today. This is a DIY, do-it-yourself Valentine's card featuring my raccoon butt cat. Her name is TingTing. You can follow her on Instagram at Princess Pudge Cat. My daughter has decided she needs to become internet famous so she can help pay for college. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And this whole image was done using watercolor pencils and the Maped Color Pep Smoothies. So here's our page when we get it from, we've printed it. And the coloring page is available on Etsy at my shop, Coloring with Laura. I'm going to zoom in here so we can get to the... Okay, so again, we're just going to do the heart real quick. This is not going to be a really long demo. You will need some water and a little paintbrush. Now, the image does have some areas already indicated showing you shadow. And I like colored shadow, so we're going to start with a violet pencil for our colored shadow. And we're going to put here. I'm not pressing very hard, so you don't need to press very hard. I'm just going around the edges. Because we're going to pretend this is just a soft, squishy heart shape that the cat TingTing is playing with. By the way, the cat TingTing doesn't play with toys. She's a very odd little girl. She is a rescue cat. We do adore her. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, you call her fat cat. Don't call her fat cat. She's a fat cat. Totally have to call her fat cat. She is probably about a 13-pound cat on a 6-pound cat frame. Like I said, she came to us that way. We did manage to get her to lose about a pound over the summer. So she's not as fat as she was, but she's a big girl. She's cute. And now for a little more depth in the shading, I'm going in with a brown. And again, this area has been designated for me on the drawing. Lines on coloring pages are guidelines. They aren't hard and fast rules. So because of that, I am going to overlap this black line right here. And give that area just a little bit more depth. The brown mixed with the violet. And when we come back over it with the red, it will help to make a nice puffy looking crayon. A heart, not crayon, sorry. Just as I like colored shadows, I also like colored highlights. So I'm going to use yellow. And I'm going to draw kind of a kidney bean shape right here at the peak of the heart. I'm going to color that in. I'm not pushing real hard because I am going to definitely have a lot of flowing and color blending once we get to the colored crayon. I'm going to use the red Maped crayon. And I don't apply the crayon directly to the paper. I get my paintbrush wet. I think I got the paintbrush wet. And then I'm going to pick up the pigment with the wet paintbrush straight from the crayon. Okay, pick up some pigment, and I'm going to go from the outside in, and then I'll start from the inside and go out. So I am letting the water and the pigment of the crayon blend my colors for me around the edges into those dimensions. I might need to pick up a little bit more water, but I'm not going to apply water straight to the heart just yet without having pigment included there. Always have some of that red pigment. There we go. Bring it in. and I'm kind of smooshing it towards the middle. Some more, smoosh it in towards the middle. And gotta make sure I don't have any hard lines here. Don't use a whole lot of water in your brush when you start. I mean, you're going to need enough for some flow, but you don't want too much or your paper will get entirely too bogged down with the water. And if you have too little, then you just end up having a wet mess. Okay, here we go. My brush has pigment in it. I'm not going to pick up more pigment. I'm going to pick up a little bit of water. It's red pigment gets everywhere. And I'm going to start into the yellow highlight and start bringing it out. Now you can see I've got just a lot of wet. My yellow has spread, and now it's time to bring the red into the yellow. I'm still going to maintain that basic kidney shape on the yellow, because that is the highlight of the red. And I'm very feathery, lightly pulling the color away from the yellow into the rest of the heart. Now we're going to come back with, again, not a whole lot of water on the brush. So when you, what I'm doing, how I'm doing the brush, so put the brush in and I tap the water out on the side, okay? I'm going to pick up some more pigment and we're going to increase the redness here. And again, I'm going around the outside and bringing it in. Don't worry about too much about things like this on the edges, because when you do your background, you can just go right on over them. So my goal here is to put more pigment on the edge and kind of feather it in. And by feathering it in, I'm just kind of doing a light lift, brush lift. And since it is a watercolor pigment, if I get a little bit too much in one area, I can also, it doesn't erase it, but I can kind of lift it back out with just a clean wet brush. So clean wet brush, and I can just kind of lift it back out. What I'm really doing, I'm not removing it, I'm just blending it in a little bit more. Okay, we're going to pick up some more pigment here, come around those edges. Now we're starting to get a nice deep red. If at any time you're looking at this and you're thinking, my shadow should be darker, you can bring in more color, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second here. There we go, we have a nice red puff heart. And yes, I'm putting a little bit more over the yellow so it blends. There. And that is how we did the puff heart. Now I mentioned real quick I'd show you how to bring in a little bit of extra color. Here is my violet pencil. I'm going to take my violet pencil, tap it into the water, tap it off. So now I have a, I don't know if you can see it, it's shiny, right? So I have a damp lead, and I'm just going to very lightly draw in here, very lightly. And that puts a little bit more pigment down for me. And then I'll come back with my brush. Again, just brush in water, tap it off, and then blend it in. This is when I should probably say blendy blendy, since that's my thing. And there we have a three-dimensional watercolor pencil and watercolor crayon heart. Thank you.